Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Just like to apologize ahead of time. I will be going through some of these slides fairly quickly as I have a lot to show you in a very short time period. A few disclaimers before I start. Using any shareware software from online networks are intended to supplement your flood forecasting program, and I do not intend for you to replace your program with these. Data obtained from other networks are for personal use and not for publishing unless you have consent. Always check with your IT department before downloading and installing software on your work computers. Free software and tools that I use: GetRealtime. I'll be talking about this software later in the presentation. Auto Hotkeys. This software is the backbone of my automation. It's a very simple Windows scripting software to learn, and it can automate almost any Windows program. System Scheduler is just a nice, simple scheduling software. Hyperterminal is used for pulling the gauges. OFAT, I use that for watershed delineation. You will need a text editing software, and I use Notepad. Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Access are typically loaded on our workstations, and I use Google products such as Google Drive, Gmail, and My Maps. Online networks, here's the list of the networks that I've been accessing, and I'll be speaking to those throughout the presentation. Grace Auble has their own network. It includes an FTS GOES Hopper unit, Sutron 8210 unit with a phone modem. We're using a new product called AquaSwift that has cellular data and sends us the data through API files. We're also using Solence level sender units that have cellular data, and they provide raw water level files. We've encouraged over 20 people to sign up for the CocoRask Volunteer Rain Gauge Network. We have a program here where we provide the rain gauge provided you're signed up within our watersheds. We also have been adding to the Wonderground network, finding volunteers to host our real-time weather stations. They provide the Wi-Fi and the hydro and look after the station for us. And we do this in areas where we have very poor rain gauge coverage. We share our info to the public through the use of Google My Maps. Typically, these maps are links to other websites or links to our Google Drive data. The first map I want to talk about is our snow data map. We have three different icons on this map. The red icons are Grace Auble's snow survey data. The orange icon is a link to a NOAA website, and the blue icons are the stations that are used to model the data that's on the NOAA website. So very quickly, Grace Auble's snow survey samples are collected twice a month, and we generate this chart into our Google Drive, which is shared. And these charts are very effective for showing how much snow water content we're carrying into the spring compared to average conditions. So we sample the snow, we feed the data into our Microsoft Access database, which then links to Microsoft Excel. And Excel has very powerful charting capabilities, so we generate our chart. Excel also can publish the chart to our Google Drive, where we share the link to our Google My Maps. The orange icon takes you to the NOAA interactive snow information. And as you can see, they provide mapping for our area, which is very nice. Thank you, NOAA. The map can show snow depth, water content, lots of different variables for the snow. And it can also, you can see the lower map shows snow melt. These maps are very effective to use, to view, and they do forecast several days in advance, and you can hindcast several years. So if you have a snow melt event that you want to document better, you can go to this website and hindcast to those dates. That map was generated using stations. It's interesting, the stations that NOAA uses include the CocoRask rain stations, as well as Midas and a few other networks. So even if your CocoRask volunteer is not measuring snow or rainfall. NOAA is still modeling snow events for that site. The models include up to 8 charts. So here's the first 4 charts. The first two are usually the ones I review the most. They include snow water content, snow depth, um, as well as snow melt. And then the second chart shows precipitation. Here's the other 4 charts. So if you're really into snow and want to know all about it, NOAA has 8 charts that you can view. So what's nice about the website, it provides a means to download the tabular files behind these charts. So if you go to the All Graphs lookup box, you can toggle down to the file of interest, hit screen refresh, and it will download that file for you. We have created some scripts to grab the first two plots and import them into Microsoft Excel. The Excel runs a macro and puts the two files together. The tabular data can then be fed into flow models, or Excel can generate charts for the data. The charts are then published to our Google Drive, and that is accessed by our flood duty officers. Our watershed conditions map, it's again, it's a map of links. It's pretty much all the different networks that I can find online. I put them all on one map and share them to the public. That map is best viewed in a larger screen, and it's better to turn off all the layers for the map and then just turn on the one of interest. So the web links map, the icon I've selected brings up a couple of URLs that you can choose from. This is a webcam that we have on the Sauble River at Terra. The webcam is a Wi-Fi camera. It uses a hotspot generated from a cell phone. These are old cell phones that my kids no longer use. I have put a data plan on them, and then I tether the data to provide internet for the cell phone, for the webcam. Webcam then sends the image to our FTP site, and I grab that image from there and share it to the public. Other networks, there are private networks out there, so you can see this first picture is from Big Bay. The next one to the right is one of MTO's cameras. They have about 5 sites within our watershed. The bottom left is another one of our webcams for the Sauble River in Allenford. This is an ice jamming location, so it's really good to have a webcam at this spot. And then the bottom right picture is from Gray County. They have multiple intersections that they like to monitor. Our next layer includes the Water Survey of Canada links. So this are links to all of their stream gauges, and we also include links to the Lake Huron and Georgian Bay water level stations. And again, you click on the link and follow the URL, it'll take you to the nice maps that Water Survey of Canada generates. We also produce our own 72-hour summary map. This is the data that we capture, and then we put it out in a 3-day summary format. Just an example of a couple of them. This is an AquaSwift gauge that we have at Oliphant that's measuring water levels for Lake Huron, and it works quite nicely for us. Here's another situation where AquaSwift is in a riverine situation, and it reports back the water levels and water temperature, and we compare those water levels to nearby road elevations and the bridge elevations. As well, we use the Solence level sender units. These are cellular. The problem we have with these units, they provide raw water level data that is not corrected. So we need to link this data up with a nearby underground weather station where the barometric pressure is used to correct the water level. And since we're already linked up to the weather station, we also can combine its rain gauge data with the water level data. This is one of the Water Survey of Canada sites. We compare, we have different products we produce. We have a low flow product, which you see on the screen right now. So it compares the flows to the level 1 threshold for low water. And we're also able to include the rain gauge data. Then we can also look at water level in comparison with the nearby roads and bridges, and the orange line is actually a private driveway within the flood zone. Rain gauges and weather stations, a fairly comprehensive map of all the different networks that we can find online. Environment Canada has a small network of volunteers as well as the Wyerton Airport. Coco Ras, again, as I mentioned earlier, we have over 20 volunteers within our watershed. And the Coco Ras map just gives you an idea of some of the coverage that we have. And I know they have produced a newer map that's more interactive, so they do have some nice features. We have a couple of agencies that are sharing their hobo data with us, so they provide the link for us and give us permission to share that online. WeatherLink, this is a Davis Instrument product where you provide your data to the WeatherLink network. You can see the type of data that you can access. They do not provide tabular data to the public. Here's an indication of how much coverage we have within our watershed. I do find this network is growing fairly quickly, but if you are using the Davis units, just check out to see if you can share them to WonderMap. Meso West, this is an American product. It incorporates a lot of different networks, and you can see the data that it produces. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of coverage within our watershed. And then there's Wonderground. Wonderground's probably has the most comprehensive network, produces very nice charts and tabular data, and I do appreciate the amount of information that's available from this network. They produce a excellent rainfall accumulation map. This is almost in real time. They update about every 5 minutes, and you can see from this map how you can tell what areas are getting rain and how much that area is receiving. This map I find very effective, and I have tried to imitate this map myself. This is my effort to incorporate all those networks all into one map, and this map updates hourly, and it shows the previous 24 hours of data. As you can see from the map, there's quite a bit of variability within our watersheds when we have rainfall events. This map also shows gauges that haven't reported for 2 hours, as well as ones that haven't reported for 6 hours. This is a map that is produced in Excel using a bubble chart. Once we have the data in our database, then it's real easy to generate monthly rainfall maps. And here's the products that we put out on our website. They are intended for low flow drought conditions, but I'm just showing August here. We had some stations reporting up to 30 centimeters of rain. We're also able to grab data from the Spot WX products, and we generate these gridded forecast maps. We do 12-hour, 24-hour, and 36-hour forecast maps that update hourly. So how do we grab this data? We use a software called GetRealtime. It accesses the data from most of those different weather networks, as well as Spot WX and the Government of Canada's Data Mart, as well as radar data. And it processes it through the Access database. We also have our own gauges, water level gauges, and we bring in the text files and link them into our Excel spreadsheets, and then generate our charts through that. We can then share that Excel data with the Access database, or we can grab data from the Access database through Excel and combine data to generate some of our graphs. So GetRealtime. This is a software that is used for retrieval, computation, viewing, and managing free real-time data that's out there. It's an American product, but it is set up to handle some of the Canadian networks. So it's a really nice software package. It does almost everything you can think of. and it's all for free, and it's built on top of the Access database. So some of us are very familiar with that database. So why haven't we heard about this before? Well, my apologies to Jeff Wong with Credit Valley Conservation Authority. He did a presentation several years ago about this software and how effective it was at grabbing the radar data. And I just wish at the time I had pursued looking into the software. It would have saved me a lot of Googling and YouTube videos to watch. So GetRealtime has 5 components. That's the GetRealtime software itself reads and stores the data. There's a get access. It provides front end to the database, but you can access the database from the back end and make your own queries and edit the tables. Get graphs is a way of viewing the data from the Access database. Get NextRad as a way of viewing the radar image from a single radar source. And then it has some interesting features within that software. And Get Map Area is used to georeference watershed boundaries, and you can run some quick flow models through it. So here's Get Map Area. If you were to bring in an image of a watershed boundary, you can georeference it using 2 points on that image and then trace the watershed boundary, and it will generate a boundary text file, which you will need later for capturing your radar data. There's also a module there for doing quick runoff flow calculations. You can add some very simple parameters from your watershed. You can add your own rain gauge or rain event data, or grab the data from a file where you might have your regional rainfall data stored. You can run multiple graphs or models within the program. And then you can change a lot of different variables as to how quickly water is absorbed within your soils, and play with the graphs a fair bit. It's kind of a neat little program to work with. Get NextRad. So if you can bring in your radar file, this will update the radar as often as you wish, and it has some neat features within it that you can play with that you don't really get from the weather network or other radar sources. But Get NextRad has tools you require to convert your watershed boundaries into radar images. You can bring in your text file directly from your MyMaps project and run it through the lat-long pixels from file tool, which will then georeference your watershed boundary on the radar image. Another option you have is to use the OFAT tool and delineate your watershed, export it as a KMZ file, which you can easily convert to a KML file. Use the little tool that NextRad has to convert it to a boundary text file, and then run it through the lat-long tool. Another thing you will need to do is create virtual rain gauges over top of your existing rain gauges. The virtual rain gauge will capture the radar data, and then you can compare that to the actual rain data that your gauge produces, and create a ratio to correct your watershed radar data. And there's a simple tool to take point data and transfer it to a radar image. This slide shows the view of the radar data as it would normally go across the screen and be captured by the GetRealtime software. Unfortunately, I'm unable to play that video for you. Just trust me, it's really cool. When you start to see all your stations pop up on your map and your watershed boundaries are there as well, then the radar data is then being captured and stored in the Access database. So GetRealtime, it brings in data from all the different networks. It'll bring in forecast data. It brings in the radar data, and it will correct the radar data based on ground stations, stores it all in an Access database, and then the data can then be exported out to Excel for graphing or use the GetGraph tools within GetRealtime. Here's an example of some of the graphs that GetGraph produces. The top 5 charts are all Wonderground rain gauge stations, and you can see the rainfall that it's been picking up over the past few days. The bottom 3 charts represent the adjusted radar data plus the forecast data. So you can see there's a rain event coming in the near future, and that's shown on those charts. And the final chart that I have shows the forecasted data and how the flow models are responding to that data. The charts on the left are wet conditions, and it works to dry conditions as you go to the right. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks very much, John. It's always interesting learning about new data sources and tools. There are a couple of questions here. It looks like a significant amount of work went into developing all of these tools, especially to get them all to work seamlessly. I'm kind of curious how long it took you to build all of the components and what skills were required in order to integrate everything.
It's kind of interesting. They're all pieces of some simple things that you can do, and it's just trying to put it all together as one big package. The 24-hour rainfall map I generated, that's probably the most comprehensive chart we produce. And thanks to COVID, I had some time to play with that and get it to work. We haven't spent a lot of time with the radar data. We were all set to look at it seriously in 2019, and then Exeter went offline for the season for upgrades. So we deferred our attention to trying to develop that rainfall map.
Right. Another question, do your flood duty officers consider the quality of the data from these different data sources when they're during interpretation?
Yeah, you start to get used to which ones are, not producing the best data. But when you start to see them all kind of aligned together when a rain event goes through, it helps to reassure you you're getting something that's worthwhile. All of our gauges are on there, so even the Water Survey of Canada sites are there, so they're comparing very well to those stations. The one at Terra, I actually have one of those Wonderground stations plus a tipping bucket plus a GeoNor gauge at the same site. And it's interesting, the toy provides values basically in between the other two. So it's really good to see that kind of quality that is coming from these, and they're basically toys.